Now look, I understand that this is the time of year where we usually get into our yearly skepticism about the Dallas Cowboys as a playoff team. Oh, are they going to win a playoff game? Are they going to win two? Are they going to go further? Cowboys fans have this discussion all the time, and there was one particular analyst that went out and said exactly what I have always thought. And today, we're going to dive into the thoughts that Ryan Clark put out on Get Up and why I agree with what he has to say. Let's get into it. Now look, as you know, I'm not the biggest fan of the media, but we do have to give our flowers when I see a legitimate take and when it makes sense and why does it make sense, right? And so Ryan Clark on Get Up talked about how he is confident that the Dallas Cowboys are a legitimate team to take a look at in the postseason tournament, right? And I, for one, do agree with what he has to say. But before we get started, let's go ahead, let's take a look at what he had to say, and then we'll further discuss.
Say they don't care about style points. These guys clearly do. Where do you come down on this?
Bro, what is wrong with y'all? Like the Dallas Cowboys are the quarterbacks of the entire NFL, right? They get all this credit when they have a huge win, and we're like, oh, right. Dallas is going to go to the Super Bowl, and FPI has them number one, and all the analytics lead to a Super Bowl. And then they win a game against a football team that the last time I checked has all NFL players on it. I do get it. It's not the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry and all of these things, and all of these people are resting. But you got to go out and win football games. And if the Dallas Cowboys start this season and we say at week 16 they're a 12-4 football team, they're a playoff football team, they have an opportunity still to fight to win the NFC East, we're saying that's a great season. But oh, they didn't play well in Tennessee and they didn't beat them by enough points, and oh, now we're going to be all nervous and scared, and we're going to say the Cowboys aren't a team that can win the NFC. But yes, they are. The Dallas Cowboys are still a top 3 team in the entire conference. The Dallas Cowboys are a team that played the biggest game of their season in the prime time or in 4 o'clock on Sunday. Had to get on a plane and go to Tennessee on Thursday. Had to get up for a game where they knew they weren't playing against anybody. All of those things are difficult. We have now become Get Up stars, and we say we forget what it's like to play on Thursday night. We forget what it's like to play an inferior team. We forget what it's like to come off of a week when we had a very tough game, a game we had to be at an emotional high. We find a way to win, and then we're playing a team that's not even trying to win the game. But we still win, and then people still get upset with us. What the hell's going on, guys? I get it. We're judging them on whether or not this is the team that can win in the playoffs. This team can beat a Philadelphia. This team can beat a San Francisco. This team can beat a Tampa Bay. This team can beat a Minnesota. How do we know? Because they already beat 2 of them, and they beat the brakes off of one of them in their place. Do I think the Dallas Cowboys have flaws? Absolutely. Am I panicking because they didn't beat this team like the 95-96 Nebraska Tommy Frazier team beat everybody? Hell no. Dallas Cowboys did what they had to do. They took care of business. Now they move on to next week.
And look, at the end of the day, he's correct, right? The fact is that there are more Cowboys fans that complain about how the Cowboys win games than other fans look at the Cowboys and make fun of them for how they win games. And that's just something that makes me laugh all the time, because at the end of the day, guys, it's not like college football where you need to put up X amount of points to make you look a certain way so that you can get a certain ranking so you can get into the college football playoff, right? That's just not how it works in the NFL. All that matters is you win games. And another thing is, and I'm not trying to excuse poor play, there are flaws that the Cowboys had that I do agree that they exist, right? But think about it this way, right? The first thing is that the Dallas Cowboys twice this year had to play 3 games in 12 days. This was their 3rd game in 12 days, guys. That's a lot. That's a lot to do. And the fact that they did that towards the tail end of the postseason, and now they got this little mini bye where they're going to get 10 days of rest. They got the final game of the season where Philly really on Sunday is going to determine what they do in that final game. There was a lot going on. And at the end of the day, I think that as you look at what the Dallas Cowboys have done this season, they've managed to win games when you least expect them to pull it out of their ass. Think about it. The Texans, I was like, listen, dude, I don't know. It's not feeling that day. and they go down and win the game, right? Or teams like against the game like Philadelphia. Oh, it's a 3rd and 30. No, they somehow pull something out of their ass to win that game. Or you do have the down moments. Yeah, you blow a 14 and 17 point lead and you lose in overtime in both games, right? But the Dallas Cowboys have had several games where you look at them and you say, well, they are playing up and down football, but they're winning games. They're 12 and 4. If you told me at the beginning of the season when Dak Prescott got hurt and you told me that this team would be 12 and 4 and they would be one of the best teams in the conference, arguably, I would think you're crazy. I would think that you're crazy because I would have thought the season was over. Now, if everybody's fully healthy, I did have this team winning 11 games. They've exceeded my expectations. The Cowboys matched their win total from last season. And I understand, well, what can the Cowboys do in the postseason? What can the Cowboys do here? What can the Cowboys do there? What can the Cowboys do anywhere, right? And I think that that's really the big question. And we have seen, right? Because everybody talks about Dak Prescott can't elevate himself in the postseason, and that's all people are talking about, which is bullshit. Because if you go look at all of those playoff games, right? The first playoff game, Dak played as a rookie. He played well enough for you to win that game. He won you, not himself, but you won a playoff game with the Cowboys, with him, against Seattle. He played good enough. He played good enough to beat the Rams. In fact, the Rams game was he was the only reason you were in that game, and it was a one-possession game. Then, the 49ers game, did he play well? Absolutely not, but he still was playing at a level that you could nearly win the game, which is insane. And so when I get in these conversations about how, Dak doesn't show up in the big moments, which is bullshit, because what is it that you want, guys? Oh, well, I don't want Dak to turn the ball over, understandably, right? But the fact is that if we're bitching and complaining about how we're winning games, it's not like we lost, right? Like, if we had gone out and we were up 10-0 and we lost, let's just say 16-10, and Dak played bad, we're having a different conversation. But this is the conversations that I have on Twitter, that I have in these videos. If the Dallas Cowboys, not just Dak, but if the Cowboys are playing good enough to win games and you guys are making plays to make up for the bad ones, I'm not going to bitch and complain. Of course, our job is to analyze what's going on, and I think it's ridiculous if we're going to just sit here and be like, oh, Space, we can't just sit here and act like everything's hunky-dory here, Absolutely, I do agree. I think that this team has plenty of flaws, and of course, we're going to have those doubts still for the postseason, but at the end of the day, I think it's more impactful that the Dallas Cowboys are finding ways to win games or being in the position to win games. And realistically, the Dallas Cowboys, aside from that first game, right, when they've got punched in the mouth, they have punched back, and they've been able to be in those games. If you take away, right, let's take away the Tampa Bay loss because we all know what that does. You have the Philly loss in Philadelphia where you had a backup quarterback throw 3 interceptions, and realistically, you were down 20-0, gave Philly that head start, and you nearly came back and won that game, but you didn't have enough at the end of the day. You lost to Green Bay. You were up 14 points, but you blew that game. Then you did the same thing in Jacksonville, but a 17-point lead you blew. But at the end of the day, you know what? As much as people will criticize those losses, as they should, I'm not going to sit here and be dumb and be like, you don't criticize losses or you don't criticize poor play. The Dallas Cowboys have been in positions to win literally every single game on their season minus the Tampa Bay game. That's pretty much it. And that's what's important. That is what's going to be looked at as we get into the tournament. Can the Dallas Cowboys do their part, get in there, and just be a contender? They've beaten Philadelphia, albeit with a backup quarterback, so you can argue that that's a wash because they did the same thing with us. They beat the shit out of Minnesota, right? They beat the Giants, who are a playoff team. We've yet to see them face a team like the 49ers. We saw them play Tampa Bay. While they did lose to Tampa Bay, they could have won that game if their offense could have gotten their head out of their ass. And that's just really the end of that, guys. I have nothing more to say other than we have to understand that the Dallas Cowboys, as a team currently constructed, can, not will, can go and win a playoff game or two. They can. No one's saying they're going to. And this is another thing that gets me. If you felt like the season was over and now you are bitching and complaining that, oh, here comes the... I don't have a reason to bitch and complain this year. I don't. I know with last year you had the talent to do good and I had the Cowboys doing good and they disappointed me because those were the expectations. But I could give a shit less. I did not think the season would pan out. I'm not super celebrating everything. We're 12-4, and I'm kind of just letting things go, right? I'm excited when we win games. I'm in the moment. We're all fans. But you know what? The biggest thing that I can say is, before I let you guys go, the Dallas Cowboys are doing their part. Point blank period. They're winning games. They're 12-4. Mike McCarthy's doing a good job, and this team, while they do have flaws, they are in position to where they're playing they're playing decent of enough football to win you games. I could give a shit less if Dak Prescott threw 3 interceptions in each of the next games that he played, including the postseason. But if it meant we got a championship, I don't give a damn. I've seen teams with lesser things, lesser players, lesser talent, you name it, win things. The Cowboys can do the same thing. Is it a guarantee? No, and I'm not trying to cope. I'm not trying to be super optimistic. I'm just being real. It could happen. Am I saying it's going to? No, I've gone on the record. I don't think it's going to happen, but I could be wrong. So with that being said, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want to support the channel, by all means. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Goodbye.